You're listening to The Frieze by NYY Recaps. I'm your host, Derek Lewandowski. Let's get started. Hey, good news to everybody watching on YouTube. The Frieze by NYY Recaps is now available on Spotify. The link is in the description, so go check it out. So last night in Tampa was one of the top 3 most frustrating games the Yankees have played in 2021, but still, you win 2 out of 3. Not bad. The most frustrating to me was the 8-2 loss to Tampa on April 16th, in which the defense was terrible, the offense was equally bad, the Yankees just didn't seem to have any kind of sense of urgency. The next most frustrating to me was the blowout game against the Nationals last week, and I've always said I would prefer a blowout to losing a close game, but it sucks to have a close game late in the game turn into a blowout, because you feel like you wasted all that time and you got your hopes up for nothing. Last night's 9-1 loss to the Rays was up there with Game 3 against the Astros in terms of my personal frustration level because the Yankees' offense was so dormant and couldn't do anything against Rich Hill, a guy who is just old. But as they mentioned on the broadcast, he's been one of the best opponent slugging percentages against in the league over the past few years, and the Yankees are a team that likes to slug the baseball, at least typically, not so much in this new dead ball era. Still, the offense continues to struggle. Aaron Hicks was out of the game with a wrist injury. Luke Voit got the day off as he comes back from his injury. And Gleyber Torres is on the COVID IL, coincidentally on the day that the CDC says we can, if vaccinated, ditch the mask. The day that we got that announcement is the day my wife and I scheduled a dinner reservation for a couple weeks out. So I'm really excited about that. Going out to eat at a restaurant for the first time since this pandemic began without a mask. The lineup instead included Mike Ford in the number 6 hole, and after another offer, he's at .095 for his batting average. That's pretty bad. He's not even on the interstate. He's on one of those local county roads. Gary Sanchez went 2 for 3 in the number 5 hole. He's creeping up towards 200 at 197. Still not quite there. You know, he wants to get off that interstate. Gary Sanchez has not been as bad this year as he was last year. Just flat out has not been as bad. Power is down a little bit. Batting average a little bit better, but he's been a little bit better behind the dish. Did have one get away from him last night, but Gary Sanchez has improved some. But as I said all along, it's unlikely for catchers late in their 20s to make humongous advancements in their games. How often does that happen? How often does anybody make a huge advancement in their game in their late 20s? It just doesn't happen very often. Clint Frazier was 0 for 3 and is down to 141 on the season. I mentioned it in a podcast earlier this week and I tweeted it last night. I think it's time for Clint Frazier to go down to AAA and get his confidence back. To me, it's not a skill thing with Clint Frazier. He's got all the talent in the world. He just needs to get his confidence going again. He looks lost up there at the plate. The most disappointing to me, though, Miguel Andujar, who was hitless again and remains hitless on the season back in 2018, which seems like so long ago now. So long ago. Andujar played in 149 games. He smashed 47 doubles, 2 triples, 27 homers, drove in 92 runs, and he hit for a .297 average. He also only struck out 97 times. He also only walked 25 times, so he was up there a-hacking. His on-base percentage was only .328, but he had so many extra base hits that his OPS was .855. He slugged over .500. We'll worry about his defensive issues another time, but he was exactly the type of hitter that the Yankees could use right now. A guy who doesn't rely on the long ball, a guy who creates damage with line drives, not with high fly balls that happen to live or die with the juiced baseball. He was a guy who would take the ball where it was pitched. He'd slap it to right field, he'd turn on it and hook it to left field, he could drive it to both gaps, he would scorch it by outfielders as if they were infielders. That's something they used to say about Lou Gehrig. That's the type of line drives this guy would hit. But after he tore his labrum in 2019, he just hasn't been the same. You may recall that Greg Bird had a similar injury after his great rookie season and was never the same after that. He's still not the same. He's in the minor leagues this year, although a lot of his issues, to be fair, have been foot related. As someone who tore his labrum, I can tell you it's a tough injury to come back from. And I worry that Miggy may never regain that 2018 form. And with every weak ground ball to shortstop or soft pop fly to medium center field, that 4+ O-War season, that 2018 spectacular offensive season just continues to get smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. I really want to see him hit. I really want to see him put it back together because to me, he's one of the most exciting hitters on the team when he's going. I saw someone tweet last night that it's pretty much clear that Miguel Andujar is not a big league hitter at this point. I disagree. I don't think that's clear at all yet. I don't think it's clear until we see this guy get a regular stretch of at-bats in the big leagues. He's not an 0-0-0 hitter. We know that. And that's what he's hitting right now. Let's see what he does when he puts a few hits together and gets his confidence going. Confidence is such a big part of this game, especially for a young player trying to prove himself. He knows he has to hit. He knows he's not in there for his glove. He knows the team isn't hitting. He knows what his potential is. And he's in great shape. No one can accuse this guy of not working. He looks like he's in fantastic shape. He's still got those quick hands, those quick wrists. He's still got a very nice swing. He's still got that high energy level that we need. He's basically a lot like Rougned Odor when it comes to energy level. He's a spark plug. I love Miggy. And a guy who hits doubles and can score the runner from first without having to hit it in the seats, or can put yourself in scoring position to begin an inning. That's what we need right now. We need somebody who can be that spark plug and get this team going offensively. And I think Miguel Andujar could be one of those guys. There's a lot of guys who could be that guy. I think Luke Voit could be one of those guys. I think playing in Baltimore will be good for both of them. It's a bit of a bandbox. Luke Voit doesn't usually need any help with the field dimensions. He's a massive human being. But you know he wants to fill up a few of those offensive columns. His offensive stat line is a series of round numbers at this point. 0-0-0 batting average, 0 home runs, 0 RBIs, 0 for 6 to begin the season. He has walks, so he's got a .250 on-base percentage. But a 3-hit game over the next couple of days, maybe a 3-run home run mixed in, would be enough to put some crooked numbers in some of those columns and maybe get him feeling good. And who could forget when he first got to the Yankees and he first broke out, it was in Baltimore. He hit 2 home runs. I remember the Yankees were wearing those blue jerseys with the gray sleeves. I want to say it was Players Weekend. That was great. And Baltimore could be that elixir once again. We'll see. Jameson Taillon didn't have it last night. He did pick up a ton of strikeouts, but the Rays are on pace to be the worst team in baseball history in terms of strikeouts this season. So let's not break out the champagne just yet. I'm confident that most people listening to this podcast could strike out at least one Tampa Bay Ray right now. I think fans who boo and rip Taillon, especially last night, have been a little bit too rough on him. In my opinion, he's doing exactly what the Yankees required him to do. Let's not forget, this guy had 2 Tommy John surgeries. The fact that he's even pitching is impressive to me. He's trying to do something that not many pitchers have ever done successfully, and that's return from having a second Tommy John surgery to be a really good pitcher. He's had his ulnar collateral ligament replaced in his pitching arm 2 times. A lot of times they use a cadaver for that. So he might be pitching with a dead guy's ligament, and he still had 9 strikeouts in a big league game. Yankees center fielder Aaron Hicks had Tommy John surgery 2 years ago, and he still can barely throw it from the outfield. He is a shadow of the player he once was. Imagine trying to generate 94 miles an hour plus 50 or 60 times a game after having that done twice. I'm actually impressed by Jameson Taillon overall. He's been up, he's been down, but despite a high ERA, I think he's been more up than down so far. I don't see him as a big factor for a postseason start. He wouldn't be able to go more than 3 or 4 innings, even if he had to. So let's let him keep doing what he's doing. Take the ball every 5th day, most of the time give you a chance to win 5 innings, maybe 2 or 3 runs. That should be plenty for this offense. If the offense was performing like it should be, he might have a couple of more wins. Not that wins is an important stat anymore. I remain concerned about the offense. The weather is beginning to heat up and the home runs aren't coming at their usual furious cadence. A lot of guys are hitting under 200. A lot of guys are having down years across the whole league. It's just been a very abnormal year. Coming off of all of the offense of the past few years, Major League Baseball decided to adjust the baseball. That was a decision that Major League Baseball made. And you have to wonder if they are ruining that decision right now. You also have to wonder if there is a warehouse somewhere filled with 2020 baseballs that they could maybe break out or mix in. I'm not concerned with having the baseball be identical every single season. There's going to be little variances because they're created by different people, different machines, and different places. I remember there was a commercial about how the hot weather in Haiti one year led to tighter baseballs and more home runs and further home runs. There's going to be variances in the ball. I'm okay with that. But these drastic differences in offensive output from one season to the next, the way that the seams on the baseball this year are allowing spin rate to be manipulated is just crazy. And we have to say, look, it benefits the Yankees in some ways. The Yankees are pretty much winning despite their lack of offense. That's because their pitching is able to benefit from these raised seams. The way that Garrett Cole is throwing the baseball right now is phenomenal. Corey Kluber's been outstanding. The bullpen has been lights out. And for crying out loud, Chapman is unhittable. Whatever they did to the baseballs is benefiting the Yankees pitching staff, no question. We can't put it all on Matt Blake or on the Yankees players. If we're saying that offense league-wide is affected by the baseball, obviously the Yankees pitchers are going to be affected by the baseball in a positive way. So the Yankees need to adjust their offense in order to get it going, because obviously the home run ball isn't going to be there as much as it has been in previous years. And that's why I think getting Miguel Andujar some at-bats, a guy who's that line drive type of hitter, who could be a high batting average, low strikeout guy who's going to put the ball in play and spray it all over the ballpark. I think he's the key. He's one of the keys for sure. Luke Voit could also be a key because he's a line drive guy too. He's just got a massive amount of power. He's a line drive guy who also hits a ton of home runs. Giancarlo Stanton is a line drive guy who hits a ton of home runs. He's kind of cooled off a little bit. But the offense needs to get out of the approach of trying to hit home runs every time, which I think they have done more over the past couple of weeks probably. They've picked up a lot more hits with runners in scoring position. But maybe putting a focus on the personnel that are in the lineup. Go with guys who you think might hit line drives. I think Miguel Andujar is one of those guys. It's funny, if you watch this game long enough, you see damn near everything. I started watching in 1987 or so. I've maybe missed a handful of Yankees games since 1992. In the late 90s, everybody hit 300, and it seemed like everybody in the league had a guy that would hit 40 home runs. I mean, it was just, offense was nuts. And now, everyone hits 230. And the true 3 outcomes are kind of killing baseball, in my opinion. The shift is killing baseball, and Rob Manfred is killing baseball. But in every era, something is killing baseball. They said steroids killed baseball. They said gambling killed baseball. And yet, baseball goes on.